Hello students, today I have come with 7th standard history lesson. Okay, and the name of our lesson is Tracing Changes Through 1,000 Years. Tracing Changes. Basically students, what we are going to learn in this lesson is how the changes came from the past till now. Take for example students, today I have a smartwatch. You see this smartwatch? Some 50 years ago, maybe 60 years, there were no watches. Some years ago, there were no watches. People used to see, our great-great-grandfathers used to see the sky, the sun, and they used to more or less tell the times. This is how we can trace back to our history. Same thing we are going to study in today's lesson. We are going to trace back 1,000 years and how the changes have come. That is what we are going to learn in this lesson. Alright, the first thing I want to tell you students is this. And in the lesson we have two maps. Okay, this is the first map we have, which is not clear. It's unclear. This is the Indian subcontinent, which was done by an Arab geographer. Okay, his name is Al-Idrisi. Okay, we have a second map which is much clearer. This map was done after 600 years. After 600 years. And this was done by a French cartographer. What do you mean by cartographer? Cartographer means a person who makes maps. Very simple. A person who makes maps is called a cartographer. Now this map is much clearer. You can make out where is Sri Lanka and other states. And this map was used by European sailors and merchants. So this is how we learn about the tracing the past. The second point, what we have to learn is new and old terminologies. Terms, they are terms. Okay, take for example Hindustan. If I ask you students, what is Hindustan? Teacher, you will say, that's India. Correct. It's India. But to tell you a fact, the same word Hindustan, in 13th century, it had a different meaning. Okay, Hindustan by a chronicler, Minaj A. Siraj, this man had written about this word. He refers this word to the places of where Punjab, okay, Haryana, and the places between the rivers of Yamuna and Ganga. He referred this term to those places. After some centuries, Babur in 16th century, he used this word for the culture of that people and for the animals, fauna. He used this word for their different term. So in history, you see, the same word is used for different meanings. I'll give you another example. Who is a foreigner? Tell me students, who is a foreigner? A foreigner is the one who is come from outside India. Exactly. An American would be a foreigner for me. Correct? For us, it's a foreigner. But the same word in those days, in these times, was used differently. Suppose if I am staying in a forest dweller. Okay? If I go to a city, the city people will call me a foreigner. Similarly, the city people will call me as a foreigner because I am a forest dweller. Dweller means always stays. This is how this word was used. Okay. The next topic we have is historians. If they want to know something, they go to the source. Source means where they find everything. Okay, the information. Here the historians, they usually used to find information from the word archives. Archives, manuscripts. What are the archives? The archive is nothing but it's a room, it's a place where documents and manuscripts are stored. So there they used to go. Okay, so these places are very important. Now tell you students, in those times, there was no press. Books were not published. There were people who were writing down the notes or whatever information about the life of the king or whatever. They used to write down. Suppose if I have written one document about a king, after some centuries, maybe after 50, 100 years, the paper would would spoil, will get spoiled. Okay, so another person needs to come and try to copy the same verse. So when you copy, there may be mistakes, or he will find it differently, and he will write a different version of it. So down the years, there were different versions. For example, Ziauddin Barani is a chronicler in 14th century. He had written something. Okay. After some years, after some centuries, two more they had copied from him. Two versions from it. No one knew about it that they had the first version was written in 14th century. Until in 1960s, they realized that there's one original in 14th century which was written. This is how things were. We used to dig the past. Next, so what we can learn about is, even in the people who were staying in villages, cities, there were a lot of changes. Okay, for example, Persian wheel in irrigation. There was a Persian wheel that came about in irrigation. There was supply of water. There was also spinning wheel in weaving. Spinning wheel there nowadays to make cloth. I have a model for you. You can just see this. Okay, this is a model. Okay, in those days they used to use this. They used to turn this, and they used to prepare cloths. See this? Okay. There were other things also came, students, like food beverages, like coffee, tea. It was not there. That came, coffee, tea, corn, okay, all those products, food, different cotton, all these things came. Okay. Slowly, people started getting settled in life, settled. There was a group of people who were called as Rajputs. They were very famous that time. They were warriors. They were good at fighting. They say they were from Kshatriyas from that caste, okay, Kshatriyas, and they had some qualities which are very important qualities. What qualities they are? First one is a chivalric code of conduct. They had a good conduct means behavior. They had to follow those norms. Extreme valor. Valor means what? Brave. They were very brave. And lastly, they had a great sense of loyalty. They were very loyal to their master, to their king. Okay. And slowly these people started getting settled in life. Okay, people started tilling the ground. They got settled. They started building temples. Okay, they started growing crops. And there were small groups just started staying. Okay, and those smaller groups were called as jatis. There were jatis. There were sub-jatis. Now, these jatis, they had their own rules and regulations. First very point, they had their own rules and regulations. Okay. Then these regulations were forced to follow by the Jati Panchayat. They had a Panchayat and we have their Jati Panchayat. They had to follow these points. This is a basic thing, students. We just have 10 marks for this out of 10 paper. Okay, this is a small lesson. What is important thing I have stressed on. I hope you like this lesson. This is how we can trace back our past. Okay, so students, thank you very much and have a nice day. God bless you.